Welcome to the Tilted Halo. This is a new podcast, and it's for anybody who's a woman in ministry. You might be a pastor like myself, a bishop, a priest, a rabbi, music minister, elder, children's minister, whatever your title is. You're absolutely in the right place, especially if you're someone who loves your ministry and you're doing it well and you're feeling pressure to sometimes be perfect, and deep down inside, you know you're not. And how in the world to deal with that? And men, you're absolutely welcome here too, because this is about ministry and the same thing can happen to you. So you're all in the right place. Let's get started with the show. There's an old joke, and I'm telling it to you from the perspective that I have grown up in and been a Lutheran pastor. But the joke goes like this. How many Lutherans does it take to change a light bulb? Change? Who can change? Can't change a light bulb. Well, you get the idea. We could also say, how many pastors does it take to change a light bulb? Now, with that one, there are some times I've seen that there would be a whole group of pastors running to be able to do that. And then there are others who would run in exactly the opposite direction. Change is important. Change is necessary if we are going to stay alive. When we stop changing, well, think about a baby. When the child is born, if that child does not change, continue to change, the child, something is terribly wrong, medically wrong, and the child will eventually have an extremely stunted growth and probably a very shortened lifespan as well. We need to be able to change, not only just biologically, but psychologically, emotionally, intelligently, all kinds of different ways to be able to be effective, but also to keep life fresh and our ministry fresh and alive. It's easy, especially in certain ministry situations, to keep doing the same old thing year after year after year. And it can get stale. It can be downright boring. And for many of us who go into ministry, we don't go into ministry to get bored. We go there because we have a passion for the people. We have a passion for the possibilities. And yet, there are many congregations that don't like change. There are many people who don't like change. And sometimes we are some of them. So what do we do? How do we deal with that? One of the things that I have done is to get involved with and be part of some new ways, some different ways of doing some different things. I've taken basically a 3-month sabbatical. It was part of a preparation so that I could be certified in a certain program. But I needed to do that 3 months training all together in one in person in a location far away from where I was doing ministry to be able to be ready for then the certification training, which was in a counseling modality. And I met so many people outside of faith communities, outside of ministry, that it helped to open my eyes to what was the reality for many people. There were people during that 3-month sabbatical who had left churches for a number of different reasons, but many times it was because they just did not see how a church applied to them anymore. They found hypocrisy within the church. They had problems. There was perhaps, for a couple of them, problems with a particular faith leader, a pastor, a priest, whoever it may have been. And they left. They left the church. They stopped going. to any church, not just a particular congregation, but to any church. And I was saddened by that, but I also, when I went into that, made the decision that I wasn't going to tell people there that I was a pastor, because I knew that there would be a lot of people there who, some of them were Jewish, some of them I knew would probably not have any faith affiliation. And I thought some of them might have some negative feelings about a faith leader, faith groups, pastors, that kind of thing. And I knew the people who were leading the program, and from having some previous contact with them. And so I made a decision not to share that I am a pastor. And that allowed people to get to know me as a human being, as an individual, without having a title and the perceptions that go with that title getting in the way. And it allowed me to see their experiences, to hear from them how they perceived the church. It was a variety of different denominations at that rate, and spirituality and faith. And that was very important for me to learn those things, to realize that as people of faith, the expectations that somebody else has can put up huge barriers and walls to them understanding really what faith is about and what perhaps you as an individual, as a faith leader, what you are about. And it can put up huge barriers to them getting involved, to them even being willing to listen to you, maybe even willing to talk to you. So I learned something by going outside of the norm, outside of what most other faith leaders were doing. In fact, I was the only faith leader there. It's not that this was an anti-faith thing. It wasn't at all. But it was not a church-related experience. It was not a specific faith group experience by any stretch of the imagination. But I learned a lot. And I learned things about approaching people, about listening. That's where I learned the best listening skills I've ever been taught, is by going beyond what I had ever experienced within my theological training. And it was very important for me to continue my education, to continue learning things within me, to change my environment, to change my perspective on things. And that was something that gave me skills that have served me so well since then. But it would not have happened if I had not been willing to change, if I had not been willing to grow, if I had not been willing to take a chance on and step outside of the kinds of things that everybody else within the faith circles I knew was doing. And so I encourage you, even challenge you, to open yourself up to something new. Take a small step. And one of the things I learned recently is the importance of seeing something from a different vantage point. You know, if you were to drop your keys in your car, you know, they fell out of your pocket and they dropped onto the floor in the car, you might look through a window and not see them there. But if you went around to the other side of the car and looked through a window, there you might find those keys because you're looking through a different vantage point. And it's something we all need to do. change the way we see things. One of my mentors has said the way we choose to see the world creates the world we see. That has been scientifically proven by neuroscience these days. The way we choose to see the world, which means when we choose to see a group of people or a situation as bad, we're going to filter out all of the positive opportunities and possibilities that are there. And that will create the world we see. We will see only the bad things. We will see only the uncomfortable, the disheartening challenges. And that is something we need to be aware of, that we have the power to change. We have the power to change the way we see the world. We have the power to change the way we see other people. We even have the power to change the way we see ourselves. And when we do this, is that we can more easily accept our congregation, to see ways to change, to see things from a different vantage point, to see some new details, some new opportunities and things. So if you were to go through and list the things about your ministry just a list of the things about your ministry, and then go through and look at that list. And in fact, I would challenge you to do that while I'm talking here, or as soon as you get done listening to the podcast, even pause this podcast and do it. Sit down and write out how you're feeling about and what you're seeing as what's going on in your ministry right now and in your congregation. And then when you come back, I'm going to ask you to do something different. So now that you've got that list, go through it. And anything that's positive, give it a +3. Anything that's negative, give it a +1. And then go through your list and add up how many 3s you have on that list. How many 1s do you have on that list? I don't know what you're going to come up with, but my hunch is that for most of us, there could be more 1s than 3s on that list. And neuroscience has told us that we need a 3-to-1 positive to be able to see things more positively. So if you have any of the 1s you have on that list, take a look at that. Is there another way to look at that same situation, that same thing, and see an opportunity in that? So suppose one of those 1s is that a certain member of the congregation has stopped coming in disgust about something and is very up in arms about something that you're doing. Okay, it's not great to lose a member, and we don't like doing that. But if that member has been causing a lot of discontent within the congregation, with that member not there, at least for now, that gives the opportunity for everybody else to see things a little differently, to not be affected, maybe even infected with the negativity that member was spreading. Hopefully, along the way, you can go and one-on-one and talk with that member and ask the person why he or she is so upset about something. And listen deeply, intently for what the real reason is for being upset. And it may have nothing to do with what you're thinking it is. And you may be able to do something some positive things. But if you see that person as a problem, that's all they're ever going to be, is a problem. There was one congregation where I was serving, and there was a member who would always raise questions and objections and any major decision that was being made. And that member got a reputation amongst other leaders in the congregation as being a problem person. And I can remember one particular meeting where this person got up and asked some questions. It was an annual budget meeting. And the questions that person asked were really good questions. They weren't problems. They were good, legitimate questions. And the feelings of other people were, because this person asked the questions, instead of just assuming and accepting everything, that was the problem. No, the problem was needing for some clarification for this person. And the questions that were asked were things that helped clarify things for other people as well. Those questions became a gift, not an impediment. But it all happened because I chose to listen to the questions, to see the possibility in those questions and what this person was asking. So we need to be able to see things from a different vantage point. And we need to continue to grow our own faith, our own skills, because it's my listening skills that enabled me to be able to do that, to be able to take a different angle and different perspective on that. So I challenge each and every one of you to, if you haven't already paused this podcast and taken the time to do that list, do it. If you don't have three positives for each negative you wrote down, there's work to do. How can you change your vantage point on some of those, quote, negative things or less than positives to see something more positive in that, to see an opportunity there? How can you take the time and the energy to go and get some other education, other training that enables you to offer more to your congregation? And for you to grow, to get more life and bring more life and light into your ministry. And that's what we're all there for, to ignite the flame of ministry, not only within us, but within other people. Because if that flame burns down far enough, it's eventually going to go out. And if it goes out in us, if that passion and that love and that drive for ministry goes out in us, you can be sure it's not going to be burning brightly in the congregation. So we have to be the ones to help reignite that in a congregation, to help them see positive possibilities. And if that means you have to go learn something new, do it. You're doing yourself a favor, and most of all, you're doing the ministry of that congregation a favor. So think about that. What is it that's the opportunity in the negatives? And what is it that you can do? What's one change in your vantage point, one change that you can bring, a new course, a new study that you can do that will help reignite your flame for ministry, your passion for ministry, so that you can help the congregation's flame burn more brightly. So that's it for today, but there's a heck of a lot more to come. There's some really good, juicy episodes coming down the road. So I look forward to seeing you again next week. You have been listening to Tilted Halo with me, Kathleen Panning. What did you think about this episode? I'd really like to hear from you. Leave me some comments. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this episode. And catch another upcoming episode for more conversation on ministry, life, mindset, and a whole lot more. Go to www.tiltedhalohelp.com, where I've got a resource guide and other resources waiting for you. And be sure to say hi to me, Kathleen Panning, on LinkedIn. See you on the next episode.